Marella Cruises are often described as the easiest way to try cruising. They're fly cruise, all-inclusive, port-intensive, and designed to feel familiar from the moment you step on board. But after sailing Explorer 2 ourselves, the big question isn't whether it's good or bad, it's who is this ship actually for? Because for us, this didn't feel like a ship you holiday on. It felt like a ship that gets you to the next place, and depending on the type of cruiser you are, that could either be perfect or leave you wanting more.
For those of you that are new here, we are Travels with David
and Mark. We bring you along for weekly cruise and travel related videos.
From big, modern ships to older, more traditional ones. This was our first time sailing with Marella, and we were really curious going in, especially after having only recently done another budget British cruise line. Explorer 2 has a reputation. It's been labelled everything from great value to the Ryanair of cruising. So was it really that bad, or is that doing it a bit of a disservice? Sailing the seas for just over 30 years, Explorer 2 is definitely an older ship, but visually, it doesn't wear its age in the same way that other older ships do. It's clean, fairly modern looking, and given that she was due into dry dock after our sailing, outside of the odd few bits and bobs that were out of service around the ship, she was honestly well kept and loved. So if you've seen the review on Rip Off Britain, outside of that burst pipe in the passenger's cabin, which was obviously awful, we think that was a little harsh and not entirely representative. That said, nothing really makes you stop and go wow. The decor is very neutral, no drama, no glamour, no real sense of occasion. The atrium in particular feels underwhelming. It's not really used as a social hub, more of a thoroughfare, and the large screen can feel quite in your face, especially when you're trying to relax in flutes nearby. It's a ship that's perfectly pleasant to be on, but it doesn't have much presence, and that theme carries through the whole experience. Our cabin was fine, comfortable enough, clean, and the bathroom actually felt relatively modern compared to other older ships. But there were little reminders of the ship's age and of the budget nature of this line. There's limited plug sockets in the room, no in-room entertainment system, no in-room fridge, there's no available self-service laundry or ironing facilities, so you have to pay to get things washed and pressed, and it's worth noting that only shower gel is provided, no shampoo or conditioner. The bigger issue though was the plumbing. At times, there was a noticeable sewage smell in parts of the ship. Not constantly, but enough that you noticed it. This hopefully is being addressed during her time in dry dock maintenance, so we'll let them off that one, and sometimes it's just a quirk of older ships. On the plus side, we really appreciated the lack of in-room announcements. No sudden wake-up calls from the cruise director, just peace and quiet. And those nightly turn-down chocolates in your cabin, well, that's always a plus. One thing that was a big win for us is that Marella Explorer 2 is adults only, and that genuinely changes the onboard atmosphere. No kids clubs, no family focused activities, no high energy daytime chaos. It all leads into a quieter, more relaxed vibe, which we're certainly all for. Now, if you've watched our vlog series, you'll know that we did actually see a couple of children on board. Those turned out to be the children of the crew rather than guests. It didn't affect our cruise in any meaningful way, but it did blur the adults only messaging slightly, and it's definitely something to be aware of. Food and the onboard dining experience plays a major part in our cruise enjoyment. It can make or break a cruise. The food on board was actually one of Explorer 2's biggest positives for us, and honestly, outside Virgin, it's the best included cruise food we've had. The dining room is a lovely bright space and offers tables for two with no set dining times, something that we really value. The food itself is generally tasty and well seasoned, and something that a lot of time gets lost during mass catering on cruise ships is food presentation. Not here though, and we really appreciated that. Desserts, however, were a letdown. Perfectly edible, but rarely exciting. That's something we found on a lot of the more budget cruise lines though, so it's not exclusive to Marella. The real standout though is the sheer amount of included dining on board, from 3 different menus in the main dining room to Nonna's, the snack shack, the buffet and late night dining options. There's so much variety that we never once felt the need to pay for specialty dining, and that says a lot. Service in the main dining room was also warm and friendly, and Kevin and Mohammed were fantastic as our cabin hosts. Another area where Marella really shines is logistics. The fly cruise experience is genuinely stress-free. Transfers were smooth, excursions felt good value and well organised, and disembarkation was refreshingly relaxed. Not having to rush off the ship or stand around waiting with your luggage made the end of the cruise feel far less chaotic than usual, and that's a big plus. Now let's talk about drinks, because this is where things get a little more mixed. Marella's standard all-inclusive drinks package, and even the premium upgrade, is genuinely good value. We paid £56 each to upgrade the drinks over 4 nights. It's excellent. In reality, we found the cocktails were often on the weaker, fruit juice heavy side. Not terrible, but lacking punch and consistency. And that's not surprising when you see how they make the cocktails. They're not crafted in a cocktail shaker and shaken with ice. Instead, they're added to a tumbler and stirred by a machine, which often left for a watery experience. Bar service also felt overstretched. There simply weren't enough staff, and while some were lovely, the overall vibe wasn't especially warm or engaging, something we oddly also experienced on Ambassador. It's also worth noting that not all bars served all drinks, which adds a bit of friction to what should be an easy, relaxed experience. The theatre itself is a great space, modern yet retro, comfortable and well designed. But outside of scheduled shows, which weren't entirely to our taste, there just wasn't a huge amount going on. Daytime entertainment is mostly trivia, game shows, or they'd shove a film on. And whilst that suits a lot of people, and the entertainment team honestly did a great job, it's not really us. Opening times of venues also add to a feeling of low energy. Bars opening late in the afternoon, spaces closing early, it all contributes to an atmosphere that feels quite flat at times. Unless you're happy spending most of your day by the pool in the sun, there isn't much to pull you elsewhere. One night that really summed this up for us was Dress to Impress night. Now, for a lot of people, this would actually be a big positive, and we completely understand why Marella does it this way. Marella is a laid-back cruise line, so instead of a traditional formal night, they've created something deliberately low pressure. The issue is, they've kind of kept the formal dress code, just rebranded it, and that creates this slightly awkward middle ground. Not many people really get involved, which is great if you don't like dressing up, but it also means the night never quite feels like an event. For us, it's not actually about wearing something fancy, it's about everyone buying into the same moment together. When only a handful of people make the effort, it just doesn't feel particularly special. Virgin Voyages handles this really cleverly. They dropped the traditional formal night entirely and replaced it with Scarlet Night. You don't have to dress up, even just a hint of red is enough. But because that's minimal effort and everyone understands the theme, the ship suddenly feels alive and together. It feels intentional, and that's what's missing here. It feels like Marella could really benefit from giving this night a fun, clear theme, something easy to join in with, so it feels like an event rather than just another evening on board. And that's where it really clicked for us. Explorer 2 feels perfectly designed for people who love all-inclusive land holidays, sun lounges, pool days, escaping the British weather, and a relaxed, familiar environment. Think Benidorm or the Costa del Sol, but at sea. And that's not a criticism, it's actually a really smart way of introducing people to cruising. If you're a regular TUI holidayer and love their seamless all-inclusive package holidays, it's a safe way to see if you'll enjoy that experience at sea, whilst being taken to new destinations in the sun, especially if you're completely new to cruising. We just aren't those people. We like ships that feel like destinations in their own right, places where you could happily stay on board and still feel like you're on holiday, without spending the day exploring the port. Explorer 2, especially on a port-heavy itinerary with limited entertainment, can start to feel more like a ferry between destinations than a holiday in itself. And if your itinerary has sea days, don't expect extra entertainment to pass the time. Another factor that really matters to us when choosing a cruise is how comfortable we feel just being ourselves. Marella didn't feel anti-LGBT in any way at all, but it did feel very straight, middle-aged focused. There was no LGBT hour, and the overall vibe leaned more Wetherspoons at sea than cocktail bar chic. Again, that will suit a lot of people, just not necessarily us. So, what did all of this actually cost? Keeping in mind that this was a repositioning cruise right before dry dock maintenance, we paid £617 per person for a 4-night cruise based on 2 people sharing an interior cabin. On top of that, £56 each for the premium wine package, £33 each for a wine tasting excursion in Lanzarote, £5.95 for the Parmesan cheese wheel supplement in Vistas, and £14.25 for the pressing of 2 shirts and a pair of trousers. That works out out at £182 per person per night, considering that includes your flights, drinks, food, and there's no need to spend extra on hotels the night before your cruise. That's objectively good value. So, did we like Marella Explorer 2? Yes, in parts. It's clean, comfortable, good value, and very easy. The food offering is generous, the logistics are excellent, and it does exactly what it sets out to do. But would we sail Marella again? Well, we'd absolutely do another fly cruise. But to get us back on a Marella ship, it would need to be a very good price and an itinerary that we were genuinely excited about exploring. When we're booking a cruise, the ship itself matters just as much as the ports, if not more. We love exploring the ship and soaking in the atmosphere without feeling the pressure of getting off in port. With Marella being geared to getting people to the next sunny port, they'd have to be ports that genuinely excited us. What we love most about cruising is the sheer variety it offers. No two ships feel the same, and no two cruise lines are trying to deliver the same experience. Marella does what it does very well, and for the right person, Explorer 2 could be the perfect introduction to life at sea. It just reminded us that cruising, like travel in general, is deeply personal, and while not every ship will be our ship, every cruise teaches us a little bit more about what we love. Have you been on any of the other Marella ships? Let us know in the comments how it compares to Explorer 2, we'd genuinely love to hear it. If you've enjoyed this review, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to follow along with more of our adventures. And if you've not watched it yet, here's a link to our full Marella series, along with another video YouTube thinks you might enjoy. We'll see you over there if you fancy, if not, we'll see you on the next adventure. Thanks for watching, bye!